Welcome to the Gifted Woman podcast with your host, Muenz. This is the place where you can come into full alignment with who you are without a mask. This is the place to discover what your unique gifts are. So let's go. Welcome to another fabulous episode of the Gifted Woman podcast. Today we have Dr. Ashley Beckman. Woo-hoo-hoo. And Dr. Ashley Beckman is my doctor and has been for the last 4 years. She's a doctor of transformational medicine. And what she has helped me with the most is healing from toxic mold and just all the things that go into healing. It is quite a process, and she has changed my entire life, my family's life. I referred her to every single person I know who has dealt with toxic mold and other hormonal issues. And now I would love for her to introduce herself.
So my name is Dr. Ashley Beckman, and I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine, but I'm really passionate about combining a lot of different modalities that I've used in the last 20 years with all of my clients. So I use Chinese medicine theory. I look at epigenetics. I love to look at cellular detox. So we look at different pathogens like viruses and mold and environmental toxins, pesticides. I utilize homeopathy, essential oils, nutrition, and put everything together. And I also nervous system work as well. Put everything together into your customized plan to help you navigate whatever symptoms are going on and to discover the multiple root causes of what might be impacting your health.
Beautiful. Now, you know how like each year or each decade has themes, like in your career?
Yes.
What
Yeah.
would you say the theme of 2024 is? Like, who are you seeing the most?
So I'd say usually I'm seeing, tired, burned out moms that they don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong. It's usually wrong with them and their kids. So again, that's why I usually work with families, right? Kind of like you guys, where everyone could be affected differently, but it can still be the same set of exposures or pathogens and things like that, just because we are exposed to a lot in our day-to-day world. And it's not a solution to try to get rid of everything, right, or avoid. So we have to figure out tools to kind of clean up our system and then shore up the home to be a safe environment. And then also figure out how to live in this world where we do get exposed to a lot of things. And, it's sort of sad, all of the chemicals and things out there, but we also want to have fun, right? And not live our life just thinking that everything's bad, which is not a way to be, right? So we need to figure out the balance of that. And that really depends on the health of each individual and where we can kind of get you to a great place.
Yeah. So you're seeing a lot of moms that are dealing with mysterious symptoms, and sometimes it's not just them, it's also their kids. And
Yes.
what are some of the common symptoms that they're coming to you now with?
So again, I'm 46, so I'm a lot in the kind of perimenopause area, right? So a lot of times people have noticed things that are just different, right? A lot of low energy, but extreme low energy could be extreme fatigue, right? More than just being a tired mom, right? Which is
Yeah.
what often the doctor might say, well, there's nothing wrong. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you just need to exercise, things like that. So we want to look and see, there's usually a component of having maybe low thyroid issues, right? There could be weight gain, there can be a lot of brain fog, and just not feeling like yourself, right? And then you can have headaches, joint pain, digestive issues are a big one for a lot of people, right? Bloating and distension. So it's not always just something that you can, exercise your way out of or just take kind of basic supplements for. I want to figure out what's really impacting you. And if it's something that's very strong, like a mold toxin, that's something you have to actively do to get that out of your body. Your body doesn't just detox that out on its own.
So when someone, because I just have this image in my mind, like, is it normal when you're going through perimenopause to have this bloated belly or this distension? Like, is that one of the common symptoms, or is that rare? Like, does everybody who goes through perimenopause get that?
So it is a really common symptom, but it doesn't mean it needs to stay that way, right? So the thing that's tricky is, right, a lot of the things that are kind of an accumulation of toxins and things like that get then thrown into, oh, well, don't worry, it's just perimenopause, so you just have to deal with it, right? Perimenopause can be a 10 to 15-year journey for people. So that's not really a good solution, right? We want to find out why these hormones are impacted, because even 50 or 60 years ago, or even less, menopause for our grandmothers was very different. It wasn't really as huge of a deal, right? So
Hi.
our modern world, again, our bodies are filled and exposed to so many things each day. And then again, it's very different. Most women work, right? We have really full schedules in addition to taking care of the home too, because as we know, moms are super organized generally, right? Like you, but I mean, the difference of, like, let's just say when the dad packs a bag, if they do, to take a child out for the day, and a mom, right? The mom has snacks, water, change of clothes, like everything you would need. The dad is always kind of saying, well, I just don't know why you need to bring anything, right? Like we could just stop along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I think anybody that has a, dad in their life, or, spouse or whatever, that has experienced that knows the difference. Right. And so we think of everything generally. And you have that in addition to a lot of very high functioning, executive moms, or just have their own business. And it's a lot to do at once and to do it well. Right. And in general, I think a lot of moms too that work a lot, right? You don't always feel like you're doing everything well. And one other part of your life is kind of taking a hit when you're focusing on another area, right? So there's
Yeah.
just a lot going on always that we maybe just didn't have in the same way. And then add on all of the kind of things that we have in our food and our water, right? Even if just people made home cooked meals more, and that was the majority of what we had, we would all be much healthier. But we have a world of convenience, right? And again, for many reasons. So
Yes.
we just and we rush around, right? Things aren't as slow and relaxed as they used to be. Our world is very quick.
Yeah, it's so quick. Do you think that's contributing to gut health? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'd say, I thought you were going to say nervous system, but because the brain and the gut are so connected, it really impacts both equally, right? This need to be always on the go and rushing, or that's going to have an impact on how we digest our food when we're eating too, right? And the absorption of the nutrients. But then again, we kind of have this mentality of quick, and we have to get things done, right? All the time.
Would you say that with perimenopause, because I feel like that's going to be a lot of our audience, is
Yes.
do you feel like it literally, because this is my experience, that it changes overnight? Like one day you wake up and you can't move your shoulder. And then,
We both had that, right? It's like,
yes, it's like,
and you start looking up
ow.
all the symptoms, and you still will, I'll still look, even as a medical professional, right? So I've known of this in Chinese medicine, we call it 50-year shoulder. But all of my friends, I'd say 3/4, right, have gotten frozen shoulder, but in our early 40s, right? Or like kind of on the brink, right? Where some are even under 42, right? But if
Yeah.
you still go to look up this, or even I've talked to different practitioners, again, they were male, but they said there's no correlation between, frozen shoulder and perimenopause, but there's a very big correlation. There's also very big correlation if you have hypothyroid issues and the frozen shoulder. There's declining progesterone and the frozen shoulder. So again, there are a lot of things, but it's sad because you still will maybe go and reach out to somebody who is a practitioner, but they might not know that if it's not kind of their wheelhouse. Or again, I love seeing and working with women, especially, right, and moms, because again, it's just another level of we understand things. I mean, you can't explain to a guy generally anemia tired, right? And they don't get it.
No,
Or
no,
postpartum tired, right? Or whatever it is. They just don't understand it.
no, they don't understand it. And yeah,
And they say, oh, we'll go exercise, right? Which is like maybe not the right thing to do at the time. Or just do a cold plunge or whatever the thing is, right? That's extremely shocking to a already fragile nervous system that's depleted, right?
yeah.
It's very different.
And when you're saying depleted nervous system, is that what you're seeing a lot of? And why it's taking so long for people to heal?
Yeah, so there's many layers, right? So often it's talked about of high cortisol, right? So a very active nervous system because your stress response is on a lot. And then again, and I know we've talked about this, is often though what I see is actually the people that come to me where they're actually depleted, right? So you've gone through many years of stress, and so for some people it's decades, right? And then now we're actually in this more depleted, low cortisol, low hormones. We've always had this talk for so long, right, about high estrogen or estrogen dominance and things like that. But at this point now, I see more of just actually low everything. So that's why we can see that on some testing you can run at home, right? The urine tests for hormones, or just different, or cortisol testing. You can see what's going on. But my clients generally are more depleted. They might have high stress at one point in the day, but they often are more just low, and we have to nourish you and not, just not see what are the things that you have been very stressed about, or your actions in your day-to-day life that could be contributing to that instead of nourishing you.
What would be like 1 to 3 ways in which you could be nourished, just maybe without a blood test or without a hair analysis, just like you're having these symptoms and you're just like, what do I do now?
Sure. So there's two things. And then the first one, which I know you don't love, but is go to bed by 10. Right?
Hard
So
for males. Yeah.
I know it totally, I understand. So if you're awake past 11, your body starts, and even earlier a little bit, your body will secrete cortisol at night because it doesn't think you should be awake, right? If you're awake past 10, which is a few hours after the sun has gone down, then it thinks that you are in an emergency state, and you will release cortisol at night. And so then that's not, we want to minimize that from happening because it shouldn't. Yeah. The other thing would be two things in the morning, right? The first thing you do, what's the first thing you do? If it's grab your phone or turn off an alarm that has a high pitch, a really jarring sound, those are two ways that you just instantly throw your body into more of a stress mode than easing into the day. And then what follows quickly beyond that is, what do you put in your mouth first? Is it coffee? Is it caffeine? Or are you or are you fasting even too? All of those are stressors for the adrenals and the nervous system too.
Well, and I'm
so
thinking
the solution, would be you can drink mineral, room temperature, mineral rich water, or some people love hot water with lemon. Those are two good options.
Mineral with rich water is like water.
Oh yeah, with mineral
salt.
Yes, yeah. You can put in some sea salt, or you can use some minerals, electrolytes too. And then the second.
Okay, for because so someone's like, what does that mean? Squeeze like half a lemon with the salt in the water.
Yes, yeah. And then drink that first. And then the other thing to do would be to have a good breakfast that has, 20 to 30 grams. I know that's a lot. So even if you aim for 20, grams of protein just to start off with, as opposed to doing intermittent fasting until, 11 or 12. So if someone really loves their intermittent fasting, I say, please don't go past 10 if you're a female.
Even so, say that female, her last meal was at 6 p.m. the night before. Would you still would that be too long to go?
Yeah. Yes. So I just give 10 as the max. It's like, please don't ever go past 10 without eating. A lot of people, if you're going to eat dinner at 6, which is great, right? Ideally, you're eating 3 hours before bed, or, more, just depends. But that would be, I still think a lot of women, even pushing it to 8 is probably a little bit of a stressor. But again, everyone is a little different too, and they know their system. But most of what you're reading, the information out there is for men and it's not for women. And then you also have to think, if you're cycling, if you're in childbearing age, you're basically getting depleted every single month. And it takes a good 2 years after having a child to even have replenished your hormones and your blood and things like that. And so it just depends on where you are too. And then again, if you have some sort of either chronic illness or you're working with something at this time, just think of nourishing yourself, not really trying to stress it with, they talk about hormetic stress, which is these stressors like cold plunging and again, sauna. It just depends. It really needs to be customized. And unfortunately, what I'd say, most women are under current stress all day long, that you really don't need to be adding more very, very stressful events. You just need to see how your body takes it, right? We've talked about this between heat and cold. If you're someone that's already cold, low thyroid, cold showers are not what I would suggest, right? Or cold plunging, especially. So, but again, it really depends on the individual. But you also need to think, if I'm already really cold, why would I add more cold, right? Or it goes the other way. Some people that have heat intolerance, sauna is not for them, right? And especially not at high temperatures for 45 minutes. That's just too much. You really have to individualize and adjust to the person.
I love that you're saying this. And I remember when we started working together, I was cold all the time. I was like freezing, but I was also underweight. And then I gained weight, and then I got hot all the time. And I'm like, it's just, and thank God that I have you, and I can be like, what the hell? Because your body does change all the time. And depending on what you're going through and your age, and like you were taught prior to even coming into contact with toxic mold or other toxins or pesticides or food stuff. So what would be someone's first step to say, they're like, I need to know everything about what she's talking about? How do they get, and we'll leave it all in the show notes, but how do we get them working with you?
Yeah, so I offer a complimentary 20-minute call just to meet, so I can hear a little bit, very little, just intro of what's happening, and I can see if we're a good fit, right? If I can help you. And that's the first place to start. I offer different options. And then again, for mold, you can work with me privately, or we have a mold course that you can go through if you think you've been exposed to mold. And we'll put in the, you'll put in the show notes, you have a coupon code for that, right? A savings for your audience. And again, the biggest thing is, I think mostly that it is really important if people can work with someone privately. And then I understand if you can't too. So there are a lot of things that people can do. And it starts with foundations of health, right? The things that are basic, but they're really not that basic. They're critical, right? So good sleep, pure water, pure food, what's your air quality like in your home, stress reduction or management, movement, and, whatever type of either meditation or things that, calm your mind are very important. So we usually go through that. I try to give a lot of information too, but no one really likes to do those things, even though they're the foundation of everything.
Yeah, and I like how you give just small steps to take. It's like, okay, just do a couple things here and there. Maybe don't do that, maybe do that. And it's not like this overwhelming, a million thousand things to do. And so if you are dealing with mystery symptoms or you're of the perimenopause age, reach out to Dr. Ashley because she will put together the most comprehensive, personalized protocol for you to heal on. And you'll just love working with her because she's such a gentle heart. So thank you, Dr. Ashley, for being here. And
Thank you so much.
you got